We'll see how it goes. This is a very dangerous day for America. It's a very sad day.
Jurors beginning deliberations today in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money case. In closing arguments, both the prosecution and the defense focused on Michael Cohen, a key witness who was once one of Donald Trump's most trusted aides. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records. Israeli shelling killing at least 37 as Israel expands its offensive on Rafah. The bombardment striking the same area where 45 died over the weekend, drawing international backlash. Yesterday, Spain, Norway, and Ireland formally recognizing Palestine as a state. Texas is again being battered by storms, with the latest round of heavy winds and rain killing a teenager. High winds knocking over a house under construction in Houston yesterday, killing a 16-year-old construction worker. This as Texas and surrounding states still reeling in the aftermath of pro golfer Scottie Scheffler's case is set to return to court for a hearing today, but Scheffler's attorney says the world's #1 golfer is not required to attend and does not plan to take a plea deal. The reigning Masters champion says it was all a misunderstanding. Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
I'm meteorologist Josh Linker, and we're going to look for, over the next couple of days, some more active weather in the central part of the country. Leftover rains in the northeast exiting. Storms across the high plains tonight, or today into tonight, and then we're going to see a new round of thunderstorms across the central and southern plains as we head into tomorrow night, and ultimately on Friday. Things will push farther to the south across Texas, and then things should quiet down a bit this weekend.
I'm Bree Driscoll. Today is Wednesday, May 29th. Our top story, jurors beginning deliberations today in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money case. In closing arguments yesterday, both the prosecution and the defense focused on Michael Cohen, a key witness who once was one of Donald Trump's most trusted aides. Ariana Harry spent the day in court and has the details.
This is a dark day in America.
Fighting for his legal and political future. Tuesday morning, former President Donald Trump watched his defense deliver its closing argument to a Manhattan jury. Attorney Todd Blanche faced the jury and began by saying President Trump is innocent. He did not commit any crimes, and the district attorney has not met their burden of proof.
Donald Trump did nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. This is everybody saying it.
The defense sharply attacked Trump's one-time lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen days before the 2016 election. The defense claimed Cohen is fixated on revenge.
We know Michael Cohen is the only person that provides a direct link as to the intent of Donald Trump.
Trump's defense insists Michael Cohen took it upon himself to pay Stormy Daniels, calling him the GLOAT, greatest liar of all time.
Of course Michael Cohen wasn't going to be perfect, because in the end, Donald Trump needed someone who was ride or die and was willing to do the dirty work, and that's how he was a part of his inner circle.
In the prosecution's closing argument, Assistant DA Joshua Steinglass told the jury Michael Cohen's anger is understandable, saying after being loyal for years, Trump dropped him like a hot potato and tweeted to the world that Mr. Cohen is a scumbag. New York trial attorney Bernarda Villalona.
Once the prosecution embraces that and doesn't run from it, I think they build credibility with this jury to say, like, look, no witness.
The jury of the evidence was shown during trial that backs up Cohen's claim. ADA Steinglass saying this case is not about Michael Cohen. This case is about Donald Trump and whether he should be held accountable for making false entries in his own business records. The jury will return to the courthouse Wednesday to hear instructions from the judge on how they should apply the law to the facts of the case, and then the jury will begin their deliberations. In New York City, Ayana Harry, Spectrum News.
For more on this, political director Bob Hart joins me now. Now, Bob, before we get into what's happening today in the former president's criminal hush money trial, I want to talk about what went down outside the courthouse yesterday. Actor-director Robert De Niro speaking for the Biden campaign. Bob, break down what he said and how it was received.
Well, I think it was interesting because it was the first time the Biden campaign has done anything linked to the trial where they decided to put up a prominent New Yorker, Robert De Niro, Trump. I think they did this because before the jury got the case, because they didn't want to sort of Bigfoot the jury and try to steal the spotlight from them. So this was the logical day. This was the day Bree, where more reporters and more members of the public tried to get in the courtroom than any other day. So I think that's why the Biden campaign didn't want to do this every day. But they wanted to do it one day, and this was why they picked that yesterday to do it.
And let's talk about the choice of going with De Niro to make this statement. Why him?
I think he's a prominent New Yorker. He sort of came of age as Donald Trump was coming of age in the business community of New Yorker. It's sort of the yin and yang of 1970s, 1980s New York, right? Both were on the rise. Both were in tabloids, and in De Niro's case, in the movies all the time. So I sort of find it a fascinating choice. And I think that's probably why the Biden campaign wanted to pick him, because he's a real New Yorker.
Yeah, very interesting. And switching gears to the pivotal moment when the jury gets the case, what should we be looking for?
I think we need to listen very carefully to Judge Juan Marchand and see what he tells the jury exactly, because this is actually legally an extremely complicated case that to make falsification of business records a felony, you have to say, well, that was being done in the pursuit of another crime. And so it's very complicated, and what the judge says or doesn't say to the jury could be something seized upon by the defense in an appeal should Trump be convicted.
All right, Bob Hart, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bree.
Another Israeli airstrike has killed at least 37 people, most of them sheltering in tents outside the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Meantime, more details are coming to light about a separate deadly attack in the same area.
Rising over Gaza as Israeli military operations in the Palestinian territory continue. A day earlier, this was the aftermath of an Israeli strike in western Rafah, which killed at least 16 people. 7 of the bodies found next to a UN facility. Tuesday afternoon, witnesses say another Israeli strike hit an area north of Rafah, killing 21 people near a field hospital. Meanwhile, CNN says its experts have determined an Israeli strike Sunday was carried out using munitions made in the U.S. Israeli officials say a preliminary investigation indicates some of the deaths and injuries that occurred here may have been caused by a secondary explosion.
We're going to be taking great interest in what they find in that investigation, and we'll see where it goes from there.
The White House said Tuesday that Israel's actions on Sunday did not cross a red line, and they had no policy changes to announce. The Pentagon, however, says it's suspending use of the maritime corridor it developed off Gaza's coast to help deliver humanitarian aid to Palestinians. Its $320 million floating pier sustained damage in recent days due to high seas.
The rebuilding and repairing of the pier will take at least over a week, and following completion will need to be re-anchored to the coast of Gaza.
For now, thousands and thousands of tons of supplies will have to wait to be delivered. U.S. officials say airdrops will continue where possible, but land crossings are often closed or bottlenecked. World Central Kitchen has also announced it's pausing its operations at its kitchen in Rafah due to ongoing attacks amid Israel's ongoing military operations.
And a vote could come as early as today on a new UN Security Council resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The United States has vetoed multiple resolutions like this in the past. In Washington, Angie Gonzalez, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, we look at how Texans are coming together to support one another after a wave of deadly storms.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Fridays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm meteorologist Josh Linker, and stormy weather is going to continue, but with several rounds and not a lot of time in between storm systems, we're going to be looking at the potential not only just for the severe storms, but now also some flooding across portions of Kansas and Oklahoma. Again, this is for Thursday, tomorrow, with the next storm system that'll be coming by. So when we look at our two-day rainfall, now mind you, this is on top of rain that has fallen over the last week or so, and we're looking at from Kansas to Oklahoma into Texas, the potential for some pretty hefty totals, upwards of 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain in some of these areas with some of those storms. So there are some river levels that are high, and the potential exists for some flooding. So let's time this out for you now, and we'll begin with this afternoon and on into the evening. Things should be quieting on down by then, but another round of storms through the northern plains. We'll make our way into Thursday, and we'll see some of the rain and thunderstorm activity in Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. But then for Thursday night, yet another round of storms will be moving through. Low pressure will develop here, and that will be a slow process. So as we head into Friday, that system will shift toward the east, and that's where we could see some additional rounds of thunderstorms. Now, as far as temperatures go, we have some hot weather in Florida, Jacksonville at 95, very warm along the Gulf Coast states, but temperatures really not so bad across the rest of the country. Chicago 64 today, Columbus 68, Buffalo 68, so pretty cool temps here for late May, 73 in New York, 99 though in Vegas, 101 in Phoenix. The desert Southwest typically does heat up quite a bit during late May into June. 40s out in the Northwest for the overnight lows, 40s to 50s right around the Great Lakes, and heading into tomorrow, the warmth stays in the south, cool and comfortable weather remaining across the northern tier of states.
Well, if you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. Jurors beginning deliberations today in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money case. In closing arguments yesterday, both the prosecution and the defense focused on Michael Cohen. Israeli shelling killing at least 37 as Israel expands its offensive on Rafah. The bombardment striking the same area where 45 died over the weekend, drawing international backlash. And Texas is again being battered by storms, with the latest round of heavy winds and rain killing a teenager yesterday. High winds knocking over a house under construction in Houston, killing a 16-year-old. The severe weather at one point left more than 1 million customers without power. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. Texans cleaning up this morning after more powerful storms yesterday. Strong winds causing homes under construction to collapse and downing trees, leaving one teenager dead and widespread damage across the state. At one point, more than 1 million customers were without power. The storms were a continuation of deadly storms over the Memorial Day weekend, when 24 people were killed in 7 states. Spectrum's Michael Lozano is following the recovery efforts.
Whenever disaster strikes in Texas, the call to lend a helping hand.
We appreciate your help, man. Thank you so much.
Is never far away.
This is the community working together. These are your unsung heroes.
A tornado tore through Cook County on Saturday evening, killing 7 people, including 2 children, and injuring more than 100 others.
This is like a war zone. And I've been in combat, and I know what a war zone can look like.
Places like the Shell gas station in nearby mobile home communities torn to pieces.
As a community member, one of the things that concerns you is, can we help? How can we help that family?
It's the deadliest tornado in North Texas since an EF4 tornado killed 9 people in the Garland Rowlett area in 2015. Valley View resident Perry Patrick and other locals quickly mobilized.
By Sunday morning, you just saw pickup truck, car, neighbors helping neighbors, just bringing in everything that they could.
The Salvation Army and American Red Cross have also been on the scene, providing temporary shelter and meals.
And right now, the most good we can do is help those that have been devastated by these terrible tornadoes.
Perry says the community's selflessness is a reflection of the Texas spirit.
Any type of form of comfort and serenity that they can bring to that family, we're about that.
One they'll need now more than ever as they work to pick each other back up during this unspeakable time. In Cook County, Mike Lozano, Spectrum News.
Today, Congress takes its border battle discussions out of Washington, D.C. and into North Dakota. That's where a House subcommittee will examine firsthand the impact of the border crisis on local residents. Meantime, a bill meant to clamp down on the number of migrants allowed to claim asylum at the southern border failed to pass last week. Spectrum's Bree Steffen looks at how San Diego is handling an increase in migrants crossing in the region.
A dozen different languages hang in this supply tent, instructing migrants on what to expect when they encounter Border Patrol. Pedro Rios is the director of the American Friends Service Committee and helps give humanitarian aid to migrants waiting to be processed by Border Patrol.
For instance, Border Patrol will always tell them to remove their shoelaces. And if we tell them that beforehand, then they could prepare for that rather than having to have Border Patrol agents yelling at them the instructions and they're not understanding what they're being told to do.
He finally has the chance to restock their supplies in a rare moment of quiet, as San Diego has now become the top region along the southern border for migrant arrivals for the first time in decades, according to the latest government figures. This video shows how busy the area can get, with hundreds of migrants from as many different countries waiting to be processed by Border Patrol.
There are many people from Latin America, many people from different African countries, from Eastern European bloc countries, from Asian countries, from the Middle East.
And with more than 30,000 arrests last month, it was the busiest of Border Patrol's 9 sectors along the southern border for the first time since the 90s. San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond has been visiting with migrants as they enter the U.S., often as Border Patrol releases them onto the streets of San Diego. According to Border Patrol data, there have been more than 140,000 street releases since September.
It's mayhem here at the cost of safety for not only San Diego County, but for our country.
He says the Biden administration recently gave millions of dollars to California programs that help migrants who have crossed the southern border. But the surge of people along San Diego County's borders requires bigger solutions than just funding.
Well, it's not safe. It's just, I mean, that's what really government's #1 job is to do, is to keep us safe. I want immigration, but this is just overwhelming.
Pedro says the border crackdown in Texas might be responsible for some of the shift.
The way we've described it in the past is if you grab a balloon and then you squeeze it in one area, it's going to pop up in another area. And I think that's what's happening here.
Preparing to receive however many migrants cross in the days ahead. Bree Steffen, Spectrum News.
Just ahead on Spectrum News, how one rock band in Ohio is bringing together a diverse group of musicians.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out?
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I'm meteorologist Josh Linker, and we are looking at a very typical late May weather pattern with rounds of severe thunderstorms. We've seen this going back a couple of weeks now across portions of the plains, and the bullseye for tomorrow is going to be over the central and southern plains. Now, we're not looking at an overly high risk for storms, but we will see the potential for some of the storms to be on the strong to severe side. Kansas, Oklahoma, and into Texas. A very moist flow of air coming in from the west. Surface winds will be coming in from the southeast, just adding to all the ingredients needed for some thunderstorms. So we'll look at the timing of these storms. Again, some leftover precipitation in the northeast for today. Storms moving through the high plains late this afternoon and into tonight. And then tomorrow, we'll see this weather system, basically a frontal boundary with low pressure up over Canada, extending southward, and a new low is going to form here over the central plains. You kind of make out that spin taking shape across eastern Oklahoma heading into Friday. That system is going to move toward the east, and we could shift our attention to southeastern Texas over toward portions of Louisiana and Arkansas. Again, this is for Friday, for the potential for some stronger storms. The northeast, the Great Lakes will be quiet on the cooler than normal side over the next couple of days. Now, as far as total rain goes, this is our 7-day rainfall product here, and the heaviest by far is going to remain over the plains. Now, where you see that red and orange shading, that's pushing 5 to 7, even 8 inches of rain. So there is the potential over the next week or so to see some flooding in some of these areas from North Texas through Oklahoma and Kansas. The southwest of the desert area will of course be dry, and not a whole lot of precipitation taking place across the east. Look at the temperatures here. The hottest in Florida and in the southwest. We have warm temperatures but comfortable up through the plains, but look at the northeast and the Great Lakes, 60s to low 70s. So much for unofficial summer starting this past weekend, with 68 in Columbus, New York City, just 73. Very comfortable, nice weather, and will be in the 50s to 60s in the northwest. Overnight, cool temps in the 40s and 50s in the northeast and Great Lakes, mild across the south, and cool in the northwest. And then for tomorrow, not a lot of change here. The warmth in the central and southern United States, cool still in the northeast and in the northwestern states.
For people with disabilities, it can be hard to find spaces that accept and understand them for who they are. But one band in northeastern Ohio is showing us how they can thrive when they are celebrated and welcomed. Our Nora McEwen introduces us to Rockability, a band inviting talented musicians with disabilities to perform with mentors.
Jennifer Gerber has always loved to sing.
I guess you could say I'm a musical savant. I am mildly autistic. So, yeah, ever since I was 2, I've always been like, well, actually, ever since probably the day I was born, I've always been super sensitive to sound and music and all that.
For a long time after leaving school, Gerber's only musical outlet was her church choir. But when local musician Lori Weber heard Gerber sing the national anthem at an event a few years ago, she was inspired.
I mean, this girl belted it out, and she sounded fantastic. The talent radar went up, and I said, whoa, I'd put her in my band any day, you know.
Weber approached Gerber that to ask if she was interested in joining a band, and Gerber responded with an enthusiastic yes.
So it was like the Blues Brothers, literally. Like, I called up all my friends from different bands, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to put the project together.
Now, a little over 2 years later, Gerber is the lead singer of Rockability, a band made up of talented musicians with disabilities and musical mentors like Anna Maria Wolf. Though Wolf is considered a mentor to the group, she says she learns from the participants just as much as she mentors.
It's just a whole group of like amazing people, and that I'm really happy to be a part of and privileged to be a part of.
Rockability is an inclusive band, but they do require members to have some musical background and to audition for a spot.
You have to be able to play, and not only do you have to be able to play, you have to be able to play with other people, which means we can't be teaching you how to keep time. You have to already know that when you walk in.
The band now plays over 60 songs, mostly covers and one original written by a mentor. They perform at events all over the region and are known to get a crowd going. For Gerber, being a part of this band has allowed her to celebrate a side of herself that had been hidden for some time.
It's I feel like I found an inner part of myself. Like, I finally get to release my inner talent, and yeah, it's just awesome.
In Cleveland for Spectrum News, I'm Nora McEwen.
Amplifying voices and positivity. And you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the free Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 9 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."